So you have, look, you can click, you listen, this goes into a video. So basically everything is animated.
Yeah.
We've now brought the whole book to life.
Website and the book.
Thank you very much.
So I would probably do it by the colours or by the endings.
Okay, I'll now hand you over to Rory to introduce you to LearnBots.
So I thought to myself, if I needed to learn a verb for saltar, pintar, to paint, imagine putting the word inside the picture, because then I could remember it. So if I think of the picture by Van Gogh of the sunflowers, I can see that perfectly in my mind. I can't paint it, but I can see it perfectly. I can see the sunflowers, I can see how it looks, the colour. So I'm thinking, I need to remember the word pintar, to paint. So I'm thinking, if you could do an illustration or an animation and have the word inside, that would personally help me to learn the word pintar. So that's really how the idea was first came along. And then I started to experiment with the best way to present the most important conjugations within the actual language. And I came up with this colour verb table, which took me months to create. I know it looks very simple, but to create the perfect mathematical simple table that just presents the most important verbs in a really easy way. So yes, it could have 14 tense, or it could be 3, but the reality is I paint, was painting, painted, will paint, would paint, have painted. Those are the key tense to get across, or to get the basics across when you're learning the verbs, or at least it was for me anyway. So as we can see, if we look at, say, another verb here, we've got the robot explaining how to decide. These, originally, it was actually in comic pictures. But when the iPad came along and the iPhone came along, it's like, what can we do to really present verbs in a really colourful way that aren't comic pictures? So I thought, well, what kind of animations, what kind of pictures can we use? And I thought to myself, well, robots has to be the logical solution because it's multicultural. So it doesn't matter what country you're in, it doesn't matter if you're female, black, white, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to affect anybody in terms of the cultural aspect. So I wanted to create something with the highest quality graphics. So I actually organised basically to get these done in Maya, which is what they use for the Hollywood movies. So we could actually animate them and make them into video games and TV programs. So from the early days, it was like, how can we actually do something where it really presents verbs in a completely new way, revolutionises the way that verbs can be presented to people. Because at the end of the day, language learning is all about learning the verbs. In terms of, if you don't know the verbs, you cannot learn a language. So we do learn by colour and association, mind mapping, and what we have is the book. So the book basically has the pictures to stimulate the long-term memory for the verb, and then you obviously have the conjugations. And the reason I'm going through the book first, because this is a story. This is a story about the LearnBots, and the story, you'll see when I come to the end, why I'm starting with the book, because it's still evolving. So in 2003, we created the online support. So all these languages are free to give the verb conjugation. So if somebody buys the book, they can just go in and they can just listen to the pronunciation for free. So what I wanted to do is create a book that was cheap enough for schools, students, but they also got something that actually gave them the pronunciation as well. In 2005, we ended up doing Spanish, French, German, Italian, and Portuguese, and English, and Catalan, but I couldn't fit that on the end. So we started to promote these to schools in the UK, and in 1 year, we sold 50,000 books to the UK. It just went absolutely crazy. McGraw-Hill came to us, Berlitz came to us, they all wanted to come to us to buy the license. And this was after I sent them the original idea. So all the top publishers in the world, I told them about my idea, and they all sent me a very nice letter back saying, great idea, but we think we'll stick with the black and white tables because we sell these books, because students and teachers buy black and white books, because we make profit from these black and white books. So why would we want to waste our money on printing something in colour? Why would we do that and affect our own sales of our own black and white books? So the thing is, I had to really push these into schools to let them know that these existed. So it was a real battle to get them in. So as time went on, people started to approach us and say, we want to do software for whiteboards. We want to do multimedia. We want to create apps and books and multimedia for all our particular languages. So it just started to grow very, very quickly. In 2006, here we can see the McGraw-Hill books. They decided to add the animations onto CD-ROMs and also have sentences in there with color coding on the sentences. So you take the colors from the verb tables, you put them into the grammar, and then you've got a visual stimulation there within the grammar, just by putting different colors within the text. In 2007, the Scottish government contacted us and said, nobody's learning Scottish, you know? The bookshops in Scotland, they have that much to learn Scottish, and a room like this to learn Spanish. But this is our heritage. Can you do anything about it? I said, sure, we'll do it. You know, we'll do it, and we'll do it as an app, we'll do it as a book. We've now got posters in every single school in Scotland and flashcards in every single primary school in Scotland. So, you know, it's great because now we've got governments, Catalan government, the Galician government, Jerry, Normandy French. I mean, there's only 2,000 people who speak it, but we've done it because it's important for us now to protect the minority languages because we're linking all these languages together. Here's some of the posters that went to the schools. Then the Welsh government contacted us, and again, they paid us to put posters into every single school and flashcards into every single primary school. So, you know, the method works. It's working all over the world. There's so many people that have come to us and said, can you do it in our native language? That it's really great to see. I mean, we had a 3-year-old child that came into the stand that learnt 4 languages from the apps. I was amazed because it looks like it's quite a simple method, and it is, but it really works for everybody. It's not just for adults or children. It really is the way to get the very basics of verbs. But more than that, it's the way to condition somebody that language can be fun. That language doesn't have to be this painful experience. That language can be something that you can get over that bridge of understanding and give yourself the confidence to say, you know what, I can actually learn this language because I've got the basics. Well, in 2008, we've now got the Promethean whiteboard material to teach English, 900 interactive displays. It's now in 26 languages and expanding. And we hope to have over 100 languages in the next 2 years. E-books. Animations for every single verb, free online. It's for primary schools, just to practice, just as a stimulus for the teacher, as a prompt. In 2010, well, obviously apps came along, and obviously that's probably what you want to talk about. You want to hear about the apps. But I wanted to show you about the books because this, like I said, the story is just evolving. And what I wanted to do is take the content, completely animate everything from the pictures, so the pictures become animated, get the verb tables, so the verb tables, obviously we put in the audio for each verb, every verb conjugation. Every single language has got over 3,500 individual conjugations, individually recorded, each sound file professionally recorded and cleaned and placed in there. So it's a native speaker in there that is actually giving all these different pronunciations. So a lot of work to do these visuals and the animations. And if we go through, I'll give you an example of one of the languages here. So if we look at the English one, so on the iPhone, you can see we've split the tense into different colors. You just swipe it through on the iPhone. You click the flag, it spins around into its native language. If you're going from Spanish to English or French to English, you can go into change the actual index into any language because the formula is the same. So if you're in a classroom, there's a Romanian person learning English, they can just change the index into Romanian, or you know, whichever language they want to look at the index in. So pictures, animations, the possibility to add their own verb. That's a new feature that's just gone into the apps. And really, I didn't want to complicate it anymore. I didn't want to put grammar in there. I didn't want to make it into something more than it is. It is just a verb app, but it's so much more than a verb app because it is actually the key to unlocking a person's sort of belief in themselves to kind of learn another language. You know, if somebody gives me a thick book with black and white verbs in it to learn a language, there is a very strong chance I might just think, I can't learn language. Give one of these books to a child or an adult, and straight away, they might start with yellow. They might not even do any of the colors. They might just do the present tense. They might just look at the pictures. But what it is doing, it's sending a message that, yes, you can learn a language. And more importantly, a teacher can say, look at the pictures and just do present tense. So when you're actually doing a class, you can just focus on the present tense and move it to another colour and just do it in accordance with how the class is evolving. But, you know, it's nice because if the student wants to practice outside class, they've got something just to practice on. I'm not here today to prove that this method works. I got an email from Noam Chomsky congratulating me that this is a really good idea, linking languages together. So that was good enough confirmation from me. You know, when somebody, a top linguist in the world, says that, it's a real compliment. And you know, at the end of the day, it's not about making a big commercial company. This was funded with £20. I went to Spain with £20 in my pocket, and I fell in love with Barcelona, and I thought, I'm going to give something back to Barcelona. And I self-funded everything myself. So this isn't about me trying to sell you anything or trying to make a lot of money from this fair. It's just explaining that you know, to give passion back to language is the key, I think, anyway. So you can get the apps on the App Store. They're on Android. They're on obviously iPhone and iOS. They can either use the book or they can use the app. It's really down to the individual. So in 2013. I then decided to simplify Wikipedia. So all the text comes in, you do a search, and the robot reads, and the text comes up at the bottom. So it's almost like an intercambio. You know, you can put in cafe, and the robot will talk about cafe in whatever language you've got it set on. So you're getting that sort of interaction with a robot, but you're also seeing the text in whatever language you decide to put in there. So it's not just about LearnBots for language, it's about using the robots to simplify lots of things out there. It's just another thing that we're working on here. So if we look at, say, just over a year ago, we decided to do a dictionary dog, where the dog is just talking the dictionary results, just to make it a little bit more fun for primary students. Well, in fact, I still use it, so I have fun using it. It's a really useful little app. So what's next? 2015, we're now working on LearnBots translation, where you'll actually be able to speak into another app and actually be able to translate using different technology that we've built. We're also working on bringing LearnBots to the TV screen. We're working on lots of animations and like little games and things that people can interact with on their screen at home. And video games, obviously we feel that that's an important area to move into, because I think the verbs themselves can lend themselves to a language course. So, you know, there's so many different ways for your students or for yourselves to actually learn, that we're trying to cover all the areas. Is it a video game? Is it an app? Is it a book? Is it Promethean software? You know, is it a course? I don't know, because you're all different. So all I can do is come up with the idea to present something to you that you can decide. You can decide what's good for you. I don't know, but all I can do is bring this to you guys and say, work with it, because it does work. This is what I'm working on now, which is the very first virtual assistant, where you'll actually be able to talk to a robot in a smartwatch. We have the patent for this, that even Apple and Google didn't even think of this. They've got the little line for Siri. That's why we don't use it, because it's so boring. So you've got the biggest technology company in the world that didn't have the imagination enough to put into their watches a robot that talks back to people. We're like the David against the Goliath. You know, we're always kind of coming up with something that will challenge the status quo. When big publishers in the UK and America didn't want to do the LearnBots, we did it anyway. When we couldn't put the books into the shops, I rang up schools on Skype and I spoke to them personally. You know, when Wikipedia didn't want to change its model, I decided to simplify it by bringing in the robot. It's all about looking what's out there, simplifying it, and bringing something that is really important to education. Thanks very much for listening. I really appreciate it. Well, then we'll speak soon. Speak in a week or two. Okay. Nice to meet you. Bye.